It's one of our science slams that we've been doing in the Research Institute for quite a few years now. It is not, as these virtual science slams have turned out okay, despite my initial reluctance to do them. We used to do it at Boston Beer Works, which is gone now anyway, but it was fun to get together in person and have people share their science, kind of like an open mic night kind of thing. So we decided to move online, and this is our fourth virtual one. Is that right? Third or fourth? Anyway, they work pretty well. Feel free to grab a beverage for yourself if you're, sitting at home, or just listen to a little science. So we try to get co-sponsors. My team is the one who comes up with these awesome, what's the word I'm looking for? The Slamtoberfest, the themes that are always appropriate. This one's even more appropriate this year because for the second year in a row, they did cancel Oktoberfest in Germany, which is a sad, sad, sad thing. And John has my new favorite, John, I love slams, Herman.
That's me.
Good. So our co-sponsors today I'm really pleased to have them with us, is the Center for Faculty Development Office for Wellbeing, and Darshan is here. Darshan, if you could wave. And the Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine, with John Denninger is here, is the Director of Research there. And Elise Park from the Health Promotion and Resiliency Intervention Program. So I'm going to ask each of them to just spend like 1 minute just giving us a very, very brief overview of what their offices do. And then you'll be hearing about their science later on. Then we'll have them slam their science later on in the program. But I just wanted them to each spend like 1 minute, just so everybody knows what these offices are and the kind of work that they do. So Darshan, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Darshan Mehta. I'm the Director for the Office for Wellbeing in the Center for Faculty Development, and also part of the Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine. But here, the Center for Faculty Development, for those of you who haven't taken advantage of the resources that we offer, really would invite you, and especially the resources that we have through the Office for Wellbeing, which include, we have our Monday and midweek meditations, which are led by members of our MGB community. And so those are from 8 to 8:30. We have our Fun Friday activities, really meant to be a way to end the week and then it's really been an eclectic but very enjoyable diversity of activities on Fridays. And then also we host well-being grants for our faculty for them to pursue an activity around their own personal well-being. In addition, and if any of you have never seen any of our TEDx MGH talks, we would really invite you to see them. There have really been amazing stories, and most recently is featuring 2 postdocs, or one now actually faculty member, but former postdoc, and one current postdoc here at MGH. So any information you need, reach out to us, and happy to connect you. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Darshan. John, you want to tell us just a minute or so about the Benson Henry?
Absolutely. So the Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine here at Mass General is a clinical and research program which brings the benefits of practices like meditation and yoga, stress reduction, resiliency enhancement to all kinds of people with stress-related conditions, our fellow healthcare practitioners, kids, essentially anyone who encounters stress, which of course is everyone. At the same time, we're trying to understand how those practices help using all kinds of tools, trying to understand biologically, understand who these kinds of practices work best for, and trying to build an evidence base for having these practices integrated more and more into medical systems more broadly. And then the last thing we're doing is teaching people around the country and around the world how to deliver the BHI stress management and resiliency training program and other kinds of practices in this field.
Great, thanks, John. And Elise, tell us a little bit about the Health Promotion and Resiliency Intervention Program.
Thank you. So that was it's a new program that was created last year from the Departments of Psychiatry and Medicine to bring together clinical researchers who are doing research in health promotion prevention all the way through survivorship, and working at building evidence-based and integrated resiliency and behavioral interventions. So that is the program we dovetail with the Benson Henry Institute, in that I also direct the behavioral research program there. And so we collaborate together to really promote clinical research and clinical researchers, particularly with focus on equity and integration, to provide a space to figure out how to improve the resiliency of our patients and ourselves and communities around us.
Great, thanks, Elise. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, so Meg just put something in the chat. Basically, it's great if people are willing to turn their cameras on so that the slammers can see you. For the rest of us who are watching, you might want to put it on speaker mode so that you can see the slammer up close, especially if they have props or other things. But for the slammers, it's good to keep it like this, because hopefully people will engage. And if they have no idea what you're talking about, you know, they'll this, or like if you say something and it's really fun and awesome, they'll do this or whatever, you know, so people will give you some feedback, hopefully. So everyone give feedback, okay? Give feedback to the slammers. So the goal of these science slams, like I said, it's meant to be fun. It's the end of the day. Well, it's actually probably not the end of most of our days, let's be real, but it's 4 to 5, you know? So it's the end of the day is fun, you know, for the rest of the world potentially. And we, you know, it's just fun to get together, and it's really important that we learn to talk about our science so that other people understand. And if I can't look at John because it keeps getting better and better in terms of his background. So so you know, it's important that the
one little note for the slammers, the people presenting. It actually helps if you don't put your view on speaker view, because what I'm going to do is in the background, I'm going to have a little countdown. So if you're wondering how long you're taking, or if you're getting close to the 3-minute mark, you can take a look at that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just one little note.
I just didn't get there yet, Meg, but thanks for watching out for me.
Sorry.
Okay, so Meg is the timer. When you get started, you have 3 minutes to tell us about the work that you do. And again, it's meant to be something that everyone can understand. So it's not always the easiest thing to do. So, you know, it's okay to get some negative feedback in terms of like, I didn't really understand that, say it again, you know what I mean? Try better. I always say, pretend like you're trying to tell your grandmother what you do, like all day, every day kind of thing. So our first, I know we have someone who can't stay the whole time. So our first slammer up is Nina Hayter. Nina is an associate scientist at Mass Pioneer. And Nina, where I have to find you on my screen.
I'm with the Zen candles now.
Oh, there we are. Zen candles now. Good. Perfect. Okay, good.
That's one of my props for you.
Okay. All right, Nina. So can you see Meg? She'll start the timer and take it away.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is kind of fun and different. I love talking to lay audience, actually. So what I do for research is I develop gene therapies to treat retinal disease. What is the retina? The retina is the camera of your eye, just like you take your iPhone camera. So the retina is the back of your eye, is your camera. It helps you see and process image. And 2/3 of all eye diseases in the back of that eye affect the retina and how you capture that light. So we're interested in figuring out, how do those cells get made? How do they function? And what goes wrong in them, and how can we fix it? And what I've discovered, that we've patented, and we now have 4 ODDs approved by FDA, which means that they're going to allow us to try this out in people very soon, because we have amazing data that is, without knowing the mutation, your body wants to be Zen. Just like you want to be Zen and do yoga, so do the cells in your body. So I found a gene that can work across all platforms, because it kind of makes the retina Zen. And when the retina is Zen, it's one bad apple spoils the bunch. We're trying to make everybody happy. And by doing that, we're actually able to save a lot of the retina cells and help people see. And I have 1.5 minutes left. So that's the punchline. Throw it away. Ask me any questions you like about it.
That's great, Nina. Thank you. So I just want to make sure I got this. So you discovered one gene that you can modify that makes all the cells happy. So it doesn't matter what the underlying defect is.
Doesn't matter what the mutation is. That's what's fantastic about it. And we've not found just one. There's actually more than one of these, which makes sense. It's kind of like, you know, in your house, you have the circuit breaker and you have to reset things. We found the master circuit breaker.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. That's very cool.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing more, and we'll watch for your papers to come out and when you get FDA approval and start trials to save people's eyes. That's awesome.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. So our next slammer is Philippe Jane. Philippe is outside. Some would say looking dapper. Others might say he's wearing jeans, so he doesn't look as dapper, but you know, we'll let that be in the
Only
eye
John
of the
Herman would
beholder.
say that.
Yes, exactly. We'll let that be in the eye of the beholder. So Philippe is an assistant professor of psychiatry. So Philippe, take it away.
Thank you. My name's Felipe Jane, and I'm really excited to tell you about what I'm doing. But first, I want to talk to you about your own life and what your life is like. And I'm going to show you kind of how I imagine your life to be. And you can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you agree or disagree. So hopefully, when you're doing well, your life looks a little bit like this, right? And you're able to keep all the balls up in the air. You're able to do some tricks with things. You're able to make things really super and special, and you know, hopefully it all goes well, right? But how about when you're caregiving someone who unfortunately develops a chronic illness? How about when one of those balls in your life turns into something that's not quite recognizable, that's really quite difficult to handle? Well, and I haven't practiced this, so you know, there is some danger here. Don't try this at home. Let me just show you kind of what can happen with this. So when you're caregiving someone, a relative, a loved one, someone who's important to you, your life might start to look like this, and your face might kind of start to look like this a little bit, and you might get a little bit more worried, and then things might get a little bit out of control. You never really know, and then all of a sudden something bad, really bad happens, you know, and so the ball breaks, right? The ball breaks. You feel stressed out. You feel miserable. You feel anxious. You feel depressed. Sometimes worried. And so what we do is we offer to people, to caregivers who are in this situation, tools and techniques to help themselves to feel better. And one of those tools is like this pan here. So you can see that this pan is holding the broken egg there. What is that pan? That pan is your awareness, and it's what some people refer to as mindfulness, or the capacity to just simply be with what it is that you're experiencing. So this pan does not say it's good or it's bad or it's horrible or it sucks. It just holds that egg right there, however it is, the shell and the yolk and the white, right? It's all kind of together. But then what do you do with that? So you learn some mindfulness, and that's great. And so then the next step is that you get another handy dandy tool here, and you start to separate the pieces, and you think about what you can make of it, of this egg, and that's called guided imagery. And so we provide that to caregivers. We study it, we study its effects, we see how well it works. And what we find is that there can be as much as a 30% reduction, 30% improvement in happiness on average among our caregivers. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you. Wait, I'm trying to get back to the full bunch. Awesome. Thank you. Excellent use of props. I will say, sometimes that's great use of props. I know what the egg falling can feel like sometimes. I'm sure everyone does. So thanks, Philippe. That was really great. Okay, our next, I hope everyone, I've had my thing on speaker, so I can't see, but I hope everybody's thumbs upping or thumbs downing or whatever, but I think that was pretty understandable. Okay, so Simi Foster is our next slammer. Where's Simi? Oh, right there, I see you, Simi. Okay, good. Simi is a psychiatrist and in the Depression Clinical Research Center. So Simi, take it away.
Hi, so I'm Simi Foster. You guys can hear me, right? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So in my lab, we do hot and cool research. So we're studying how temperature affects the brain and the immune system. And it's been known for a long time that exposure to extreme temperatures has been observed to boost mood, to increase resiliency to stress, to even treat disease. For example, here we have Edna, the elephant, who's been feeling really down, really stressed, maybe even really depressed and irritable with her kids, almost can't even get up enough energy to take care of herself. But somehow she does find the energy to take a sauna. So she gets in a sauna. This is a COVIDly responsible, socially distant sauna. And at first she's really sweaty. She doesn't like it. Oh my God, it's so hot in there. But she sticks it out for maybe half an hour to an hour. Gets out. And all of a sudden, she's feeling much better, calmer, less irritable. And she's so happy with herself that she actually tells Pamela, the polar bear, that Pamela should do a sauna because Pamela's also been feeling really stressed with COVID and everything else. And Pamela hates heat, really hates it. So she decides instead to go into an ice bath and take a nice cold swim. And she's shivering. She wants to get out. She doesn't like it, but she sticks it out and she emerges refreshed. The world is new. And so how can both hot and cold boost mood and make people feel better? The answer might lie in how the nervous system and the immune systems communicate with each other. So as you might know, the recent Nobel in Physiology or Medicine was awarded for the discovery of how our neurons really sense temperature. And it turns out that the same neurons that sense heat also respond to chemicals like capsaicin, which are found in chili peppers, which are why chili peppers taste hot. And what we're discovering is really these temperature sensitive neurons that have an intimate connection with the immune cells in your body, and they can help regulate the dreaded dragon of inflammation. And inflammation is usually your body's response to infection or injury. We need it, but it can be at the root of so many diseases of modern life, including depression, heart disease, and even complications of COVID. So we are finding that exposure to these different temperatures might actually dampen inflammation. And we're studying this both in clinical trials, such as a trial for of whole body hyperthermia or elevating body temperature for depression, which we're going to be starting soon, and also at a cellular molecular level in the lab. And the goal is really to find out how these temperatures boost mood and can improve health overall. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That was awesome. Simi, so you'll have to come back at some point and tell us how we all figure out whether we should do a sauna or an ice bath when we're not feeling well, right? Like we all need to know whether we need to do the sauna or the ice bath when we're having a bad day. I would love to know that. So thanks, that was awesome.
Thank you.
My kids
Also
have that
good
little
use of
microwave.
I know, also good use of props.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was really good. Okay, so our next slammer is Rebecca Davis. Where's Rebecca? Is she here? I had to find her. Wave at me, Rebecca. Oh, I see her right there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Rebecca Davis is a research assistant in the Wellman Center. So Rebecca, take it away.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I work for a program called the Magic Wand Initiative. So the Magic Wand Initiative was created in 2013 here at MGH by Dr. Rox Anderson and Dr. Lila Caribbean to provide an academic curriculum to teach clinicians to solve problems through innovation. We found that most clinicians don't receive formal training on innovation, and when they do, they often don't have dedicated time to innovate. 30 dermatologists went through our one-year course to learn brainstorming, intellectual property, pitching to investors, and more. After the program, clinicians found that they felt like they had more autonomy, expressed more creativity, experienced more joy at work, and had reduced symptoms of burnout. There we go. Out of 30 clinical problems defined, 8 are currently at the feasibility testing stage. One of our greatest success stories is a case study that showed the power of innovation during a global pandemic. One of our alumni, Dr. Aditi Sharma, saw how many hospitals were experiencing a shortage of surgical masks during the pandemic and how much environmental waste these PPEs were causing. So she used her clinical experience to work with a team at MIT to turn these disposable masks into reusable, sterilizable protection. So next time you notice an unmet patient need, take your magic wand and capture it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. An amazing initiative. And I know Rox is one of Rox's babies, right? In terms of making sure that this moves forward and provides this kind of training. So thanks so much, Rebecca. Okay, our next slammer is Giselle Perez. Where's Giselle?
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, I see you, Giselle. It just takes me a minute to find you. It's easier if people talk, then I can find you on my screen easily. So Giselle is a senior scientist. Oh, you're in multiple places. You're at the Cancer Center, at the Mongan, the HPRIR and the HPRC. I have all these things here. And so we can't wait to hear what you're going to tell us today, Giselle.
All right. Well, I'm going to go in deep here. Let's see it. Can I share this?
You need to.
Okay. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to talk very briefly, actually less than 30 seconds. I'm going to use a poem to exemplify the work that I do. So, feeling alone in a crowded room, uncertain, scared, and often lost, I watch the silent film unfold, seeking meaning and purpose, circling yet unmoving. The spinning stops. I find myself unchanged yet transformed. I am enough. I am. I will be okay. And so essentially, I wanted to use that poem to describe a lot of the populations that I work with, and really to sum up the work that I do, which is to find innovative solutions to help people find their way, to help people find their voice, and to help them find control amidst the chaos. I particularly like to work with people who are often missed, who are often misunderstood, and who experience difficulty getting the most out of the system and the care that they need. And my overall long-term goals is to improve their emotional and physical health outcomes. And that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much. It was so great. This is really great. I have to say, I mean, not that we're done yet, but I really applaud all of you. And I'm a basic lab-based scientist. And, typically when I think of, I just love hearing about the diversity of research that's going on at Mass General. And, all of you are doing such amazing things to help patients. And your work highlights something that I worry gets forgotten sometimes. And it's really amazing that you're all doing this work and highlighting this for us. So our next slammer is Frankie Marchand, who's a research tech in molecular biology. Where's Frankie? There's Frankie. I see her. Okay, good. Go ahead, Frankie. Take it away.
Okay. So, so when you think about development, so if you have, say, like a mammal and when it's first growing, so there's going to be a tissue, and that tissue is made up of a bunch of cells. And so I'm mostly going to be talking about an individual cell, but just so there's context. And so each cell needs to sort of communicate with the cells around it, so it knows, so that it does fills the correct role. And it also, but then another thing that the cells do is that they divide. So there's going to be 2 at the end. And so I have a little putty cell. So say if this is one of the cells and it wants to talk to its neighbors, it forms a little antenna-like appendage which is called a cilium. And that, so one thing that makes things complicated, so it has this, I'm going to use this ring to represent like the base of the cilium. And so as the cell is growing, it's going to sort of replicate all of its insides, so like its DNA and such. And this structure is also going to be replicated. I'm sorry if the other, my rings do not look similar. But the tricky part is that these, like what is the ring here? So like this body actually also forms the force structure that that will then like enable the DNA to be pulled apart. And so that antenna basically is built and like reabsorbed, deconstructed each cell cycle. And because of that, it's really important that its length is able to be regulated so that it can grow and then be reabsorbed. And so I'm working on a project that's studying one of the proteins that deals with that length regulation.
Great, thanks, Frankie. So I assume something can go dreadfully wrong if it gets too long or is not long enough.
Yeah, there's a variety of diseases involved.
Right.
The one that the protein is named after is called orbitofacial digital syndrome.
Okay.
So it causes sort of like developmental defects basically, and like misshapen, like having extra fingers and such.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Excellent use of clay. I have to say, it's great to see that, you know, good way to show us cells and appendages and cilia, etc. So that was awesome. Okay, so our next slammer is Christina Schnitzer, who's an instructor in psychiatry. Where's Christina?
Hi, I'm here.
There she is. Okay, perfect. Christina, take it away.
Okay. Hi, nice to see everyone. So I work clinically and in the research setting with folks with what we call serious mental illness. So typically that means things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. And I learned pretty early on in residency that folks with diseases like schizophrenia die almost 30 years earlier than the general population, and that floored me. And a big contributor to that is tobacco smoking. People with schizophrenia smoke tobacco so much more than the general population. So I was recently part of a big study that pretty much looked at how do we get people with schizophrenia to stop smoking. And we did two big things. We paired people with a worker, a community health worker that would help them work on their smoking. And then we talked to their PCPs about smoking cessation. And we found that the piece that worked the best was the community health worker piece of that intervention. So really having someone alongside these folks, guiding them through trying to quit smoking. What I'm looking at now is taking a deeper dive into some of that data, looking at the people who worked with those community health workers and seeing what worked and what didn't work. And one interesting thing that we're looking at has to do with something called stages of change. So here's a glare, but if you guys can see this, it's kind of the classic stages of change model. So if someone's in pre-contemplation, they're really not ready to think about smoking. They don't want anything to do with it. If they're contemplating, maybe they're thinking about it, but they're hesitant. And someone can go into preparation and action. And so in theory, you're supposed to engage people regardless of what stage they're in and try and move them to the next stage. But what we find clinically is that oftentimes a lot of people who are in those first two buckets, pre-contemplation and contemplation, kind of get forgotten. Oftentimes clinicians will label someone in one of those two phases, and it almost is kind of a death sentence for not discussing smoking anymore. And what we found is that folks who worked with the CHWs, actually a great amount of those folks were able to try and quit. Almost 50% of folks in those two groups made a quit attempt at some point during the study. So showing that when you do work to continually engage them, good things can happen. So to not give up on those folks and maybe not to use the stages of change as much when thinking about them moving forward. So that's it.
Sue, you're muted.
Okay, so you just missed all the wonderful things I said about your presentation, Christina. That was really interesting. Thank you. It was great. This is why I generally don't mute myself, and this is why, because then I forget to unmute myself. But I'm also afraid that my dogs are going to bark, or someone's going to come walking in here. Okay, so our next presenter is Daniel Hall. Daniel is a clinical health psychologist in the Mongan Institute in the Health Promotion and Resiliency Intervention Research Program. I hope I had that right. Daniel, where are you?
I am right over
I see
here.
you. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Take it away.
All right. So we have a quick round of trivia for you all. I'm going to go ahead and paste the questions in the chat, and feel free to send your responses if you care to take a guess. And in the meantime, our research coordinator and interns will help answer these questions, hopefully in the next 3 minutes. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show their pre-recorded answers that they took the time to present for all of you today.
Hi, my name is Emma Sebring, and I'm a research coordinator for Daniel Hall and Giselle Perez. And the question is, true or false? After completing cancer treatment, survivors rarely experience fear of recurrence. The answer is false. As many as 2/3 of cancer survivors experience clinically elevated fear, worry, or concern about a future cancer diagnosis. Survivors' fears may negatively impact their mental and physical well-being, and mind-body interventions teaching relaxation, meditation, CBT, and positive psychology techniques such as sharing appreciations can help survivors manage these fears. If you are working with a patient that may be interested in the study, you can email me at focus@mgh.harvard.edu with their name and medical record number, and I will contact them about the study.
All right, question number 2.
Hi, my name is Raisa Lee, and I am an undergraduate at Tufts University, completing a research internship working with Dr. Daniel Hall. Here's the next trivia question on a topic I'm researching. True or false? Most cancer survivors prefer in-person interventions for insomnia versus virtual ones. False. In our research and in the literature, we have found that many cancer survivors experience barriers in accessing in-person interventions, such as difficulty with traveling and illness burden. There are also various barriers to recruiting diverse patients in the MGB system. Virtual interventions can increase access to diverse populations who may experience more challenges in participating in in-person interventions, such as lacking access to a car and having unconventional work hours.
Hi, my name is Noah, and I'm an undergraduate at Tufts University, completing a research internship with Dr. Hall. Here's the next question on a topic I'm researching. There has been ample research done teaching resilient skills to A, fathers of children with special healthcare needs, B, individuals with rheumatic disease to navigate uncertainty, C, both, D, neither. The answer is D, neither. Both of these populations are under-researched, so both the resiliency in fathers with special healthcare needs and uncertainty with mental health and systemic autoimmune rheumatic diseases projects aim to learn more about individual experiences and provide interventions to best cater to those needs.
All right, and question number 4.
Hi, my name is Zainab Mian, and I'm an undergraduate at Wesleyan University and completing a research internship working with Dr. Daniel Hall. Here is the next trivia question on a topic I am researching. A patient can plan to set a SMART goal at the beginning of the In-Focus intervention program. S stands for specific, A stands for attainable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time-based. What does the M in SMART stand for? The M stands for measurable. An example of a measurable goal could be to practice worry time once a day. Worry time is a skill for managing the intrusive thoughts from fear of cancer recurrence-related worries.
All right, well, I know that was an unconventional way to slam, but I'm glad to showcase some of the work that my interns are contributing to.
Thank you, Daniel. That was great. You get the prize for best use of students in the Science Slam. It was awesome to see them. And please, I don't know if they're actually on here watching, but please tell them how important their work is. And we're glad that they are participating. That's awesome.
Thank you. One of them, Raisa Lee, is here. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Hello.
Hi, Raisa. I'm so glad they took the time to help you make that video. It's great. Okay, so now we'll turn to Elise Park, who you heard from at the beginning of the program, who is the director of the Health Promotion Resiliency Intervention Research Program. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her work.
Thank you. Well, my favorite slam story, I have to tell you, was when I was on fellowship. We used to, as fellows, go to a poetry slam in Providence, and Buddy Cianci did a slam. And for those of you who don't know the name, he was a very popular mayor, but then shortly after he did the poetry slam, he was actually arrested for let's say, siphoning off the city's profits. So, but he was fabulous at the slam. Props. My own stress buffering, I'm going to talk about resiliency, props in my office. I wanted to share because everyone has their own individualized resiliency: coffee and skiing. Tactile things, these are from Maine. These are rocks I picked off the shore with the intention of putting them in my office. The happiness is from a rock from a patient. And then visual relaxation for folks who can, this is like for people who just want like to feel like they have repetition. I am going to focus today on creativity and ask you all to be interactive because we think creativity is an important part of resiliency. So I'm going to ask you all to participate in the chat. And I am going to, this is going to be an MGH Libs, and this is not as much as an overview of the research, but just to ask you some Q&As of our program. So we keep talking about HIPR. So everyone please put in the chat in HPRIR, the first R stands for. Oops, I have to turn on my chat. Whoever gets it first, we'll go back to the, then we'll go to the next one. Is the chat enabled? Okay, Daniel, okay, Brian, thank you. Resiliency, excellent. Anybody else? All right. John wrote resiliency as a question. Excellent. I actually forgot, I wrote the R stands for, and Lara Traeger told me that there were 2 R's in it. So thank you. The second R is for research. Okay, we are very committed to verb evidence-based research. This is hard. Okay, doing, conducting, excellent. Anyone else peer reviewed? Hypothesis, those aren't verbs. Those aren't verbs. Okay. Meaningful, implementing. Thank you, Gordia. Yes, implementing, promoting, excellent. All right. Thank you all. Okay. You can tell who are the hardcore fans. I'm sorry, this is Mad Libs. We are co-sponsored by the departments of blank, noun and noun.
Oh.
Psychiatry and medicine. Thank you. The next one. I'm sorry, this is hard to work the screen and turn on the chat. I'm having to.
I know, I'm sure.
We believe it is critical to build the emotional wellness of adjective individuals. All. Thank you, Sarah. That's my timer, but I'm going to keep going.
Keep going.
Okay. I have a couple more, and I think we're going to like the last one. I think this is why I've been asked to go a little further on because of my last one. We are a multidisciplinary group comprised of medicine researchers, anything else? Slammers. Thank you, Daniel. One other thing, what do we all do? What kind of work besides research? Clinicians, thank you. Okay, 2 more. I know I'm a little over, but the last one. Okay, our research interventions are adjective and adjective. Nice people, thank you, John. Our research interventions are adjective, fast and furious. This, you can be creative here. There's no right answer here. I should have said that at the beginning. Our research interventions are adjective and adjective. Brian Burns said fast and furious. Okay. Effective, important, meaningful. You can say fun. Okay, and the last one is we think blank for creating this slam focused on emotional wellness? Anyone? Thank you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Elise. That was awesome. Yeah, I know. I should have. It is hard to do the chat and move the screen, but you did a great job. And now we all know.
Buddy Cianci would have been proud.
Yes, but now we all know a little bit more about the health promotion and resiliency program. So thank you so much.
And you won't go to jail, I don't think, Elise.
Exactly right, Elise. Are you embezzling? Don't yeah. Hopefully you won't. Okay, our next slammer is John Denninger, who's the director of research at the Benson Henry, who you heard from at the beginning, talking a little bit about the Benson Henry. So John, tell us a little bit about the work that you do there.
All righty. First of all, I have to say that I've never taken only 3 minutes ever to say anything. Just ask my children. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about evolution just for a second. This is Charles Darwin, father of evolution. Evolution gave us this very, very cool thing called the stress response, also known as the fight or flight response, to help keep us alive. It kept our ancestors alive when they were in danger. The thing about evolution, though, is evolution is all about trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs in the stress response is that if you have too much of it, it can contribute to problems. Everything from things like heart disease to depression. Herb Benson, who's a cardiologist and the founder of the Benson Henry Institute, he described this thing called the relaxation response, which is like the opposite of the stress response. This relaxation response is brought about by approaches like meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, and others. And the most important bullet point is that it helps buffer the body and brain from the negative effects of stress. At the Benson Henry Institute, we wanted to figure out how this was happening. We looked at the level of what genes were turned on and off. As you may remember, each cell has a blueprint in the nucleus for every single gene in the body. But if you're a bathroom cell, you don't need every single gene turned on. All you need is like the toilet gene and the bathtub gene and the sink gene turned on. And so we were trying to find out which genes were turned on and off in different people. I just need to do one thing very quickly, and that's try to show myself, but I can't see myself. Anyway, it's okay. Hopefully these will be on screen. So we took two groups of people. We had long-term practitioners of different kinds of practices like meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, etc. And then we had novices, people who had never done any of this kind of stuff. And what we did first is we drew blood from both of them, and we compared the pattern of how genes were turned on and off in both groups. The neat thing is that the long-term practitioners, they looked different from the people who were novices. Pretty spectacular. We then took the novices and we trained them. We trained them so that they practiced meditation for 8 weeks. And at the end of those 8 weeks, the long-term, the pattern in the long-term practitioners and the pattern in the novices after they had been trained actually looked much more similar after only 8 weeks. Pretty amazing. All right, why is this important? This is important because among the genes whose patterns were changed were sets of genes involved in controlling inflammation. And like Simi was saying earlier, inflammation is absolutely necessary. If you cut yourself, if you're healing a wound, you need inflammation to make that better. But inflammation can be harmful when it gets out of hand. Like if you have an autoimmune disease like lupus, or if you've got the coronavirus and your body's overreacting. And it can also contribute to things, those illnesses I mentioned before, things like heart disease and depression and a lot of others. So the bottom line is meditation and the relaxation response may help us by protecting the body from the negative effects of stress in a way that can turn sets of genes on and off in a way that helps keep inflammation from getting out of hand. And the other thing is that meditation can feel pretty good too.
Thank you, John. That was awesome. I'm learning, we should have coupled this Science Slam with one of Darshan's meditation sessions or yoga sessions or something like right after this. I'm feeling like I think I'm on the novice end of things. I need to 8 weeks. In 8 weeks, I could be more relaxed. Yes.
8 weeks,
Okay.
you can be a new person.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna reach out to you, all of you, after this is over, and figure out how I can be a new person in 8 weeks. Okay, and last but certainly not least, we're going to hear from Darshan about his work.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Sue. All right. So, one of the things, so you'll hear several of us have worked very closely on the stress management resiliency training program. And so in the COVID pandemic, one of the things we began to wonder, I began to wonder, is that, well, we're sitting all the time. That's a problem. And given that most of these mind-body interventions that we've developed are sitting, and that makes it even harder to do. I think because you're sitting in front of a computer all the time, sometimes for some of us, it's harder to absorb this, like you just feel like you're being talked to. So can you do something to this program to make it more active? And can we actually be moving? So we decided, we had a group of graduate students at Harvard who were willing participants, and they were excited to learn some stress reduction and resiliency training work. And we decided to lead them through a derivative of the SMART program, the Stress Management Resiliency Program, which is entitled the PART program. It stands for Positivity and Relaxation Training. And it's some people may think of it as a lighter version, but it was the way we ended up structuring it was they were generous in giving us 2 hours per week for 8 weeks. And we decided to make it a sort of a 75 minutes, but then incorporate. My colleague, Peter Wayne, said, well, why don't we try adding some movement? And so we added 30 minutes of Tai Chi. So literally, as you can see, you may or may not be able to see, I'm standing right now because I can't sit all day. It's too hard. So I stand. And so you can actually do moving meditation and do it while you're, while you're in these groups. So we ended up having this amazing experience with students where they could be up, down, wherever they needed to be on Zoom. They could have their camera off on, but it allowed a bit more interaction. The students initially started off really quite, as I don't know, many graduate students and postdocs come in quite stressed. They actually initially started at the risk of what we would say at high risk for burnout. And then ultimately, after this magic number of 8 weeks that somehow we've all figured out is the magic number, they actually ended up in just 8 weeks kind of go underneath that marker, which does not put them at risk for burnout anymore. But I think what was most impressive to me was just to understand how people change when you actually engage with them in a way that they are not just feeling talked to and actually are engaged in the work. And it helped me understand a little bit more as someone who's been leading this work for a while, like what allows someone to stay engaged. And one of the things is that time is always important. You can't really shortchange this. Sometimes you think like, what's the lowest? And I think all of them came to us like, oh, it was worth the time. But the second thing was that they really felt that this actually helped them do their research better. They're all graduate students at Harvard, so they all are active researchers. And they said, I actually realized how to handle better situations with my PI or my mentor. I was not as reactive. I felt like I was like actually the imposter syndrome became a lot less for some of these folks. And ultimately, it's interesting, they want more of this type of work. So it was a nice surprise, but we look forward to learning more.
Great, thanks, Darshan. That was really great. I want to commend everyone who joined us today to share a little bit about the science that they do. And we just have like 5 minutes left, but what I'm taking away from this is all of these great programs that have been developed. And so I'm going to ask anyone who wants to jump in, what resource, how do people get more involved, I guess, if they want to? Is it, are there programs? I know Darshan, obviously, in the Office for Wellbeing, in the Center for Faculty Development, but maybe there are other programs too that people could take part in. So does anyone just want to share a little bit about, if someone wanted to, what is the best starting approach, I guess? is to think more about our own well-being.
One opportunity is, I was just going to say, one opportunity is to come to the Benson Henry Institute. We have the stress management and resiliency training program running all the time, and it's a great program. It really is a great program. Many of us teaching it, at least developed it, and it's being continually tested and improved. And so this is something that and we've done a lot of it with our fellow healthcare workers and many other groups. And it's wonderful. We're not doing yoga at the Benson Henry Institute right at the moment, but in the past, we used to do yoga there before we had a pandemic. So there are things like that. I don't know what other resources, Darshan.
No, I mean, if anyone's ever confused where to go, you can always come through the Center for Faculty Development. That's sort of our job, is to help people. So and that's, again, really meant for all of our entire MGH community. So anyone who's like, I have no clue where to go next, or what there's out there. It's always changing. I think one of the things is that we're in an institution, as many of us know, there are a lot of people who love this type of work and do a lot of work. And I get, at least some of us get to be sort of hearing about it all the time. And so it's always changing. And so there are just so many opportunities.
Well,
another,
Go ahead, Felipe, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Another resource that I'd highly recommend is the Mass General Department of Psychiatry put up curated resources for well-being online during the COVID period. And this has links to numerous programs, including videos that were developed by MGH psychiatry and resiliency faculty on numerous topics. So that's a great resource that can be accessed.
Thanks, Philippe. And Elise, did you want to add something?
Oh yeah, and those resources, I think John can speak to Herman. The EAP resources of a lot of those webinars are phenomenal. I was going to speak of just the clinical research, that we have lots of clinical research studies developing. Daniel talked about the one with fathers that we're really having a fun time developing. Larry Traeger's doing some work. We have a collaboration with older adults as well as patients and caregivers. And so I have to say personally that doing this work helps me. Sometimes when I'm leading meditations, it's the only time of the day I actually get to relax. So I also, it's just really fulfilling clinical research. And if anyone is interested in pursuing different populations and things, they should let us know. It's very rewarding.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. This has been really, really enlightening, and I've really, really enjoyed it. And I hope everyone else did who came too. I know I see Brian posted in the chat the link to the resource for well-being that the psychiatry department put up. So it's in the chat there. And so thank you all so much for participating and for the work that you do. And I encourage all of you to relax a little. Thank you for joining us. Come to the other science slams too.
And if you want to do a guest blog post for the
yes.
MGI blog.
Thank you. Right. We have a blog in the Research Institute called Bench Press. And it's really grown remarkably, and we've won multiple awards, and we're always looking for guest bloggers. So if you have students or yourselves or people like to write blogs on some of these things, it would be great. We'd love to post stories about this work. So get in touch with us. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Okay.
Thanks to everyone. Thanks to all the slammers.
Thanks to everybody. Yes.